Okay. All right. Well, this afternoon we are going to talk to two, hopefully three CUC students who studied abroad on exchange and give you guys a chance to ask questions about what their experience was like studying abroad at some of our partner universities. So as you know, COVID-19 is still alive and kicking and with us. So the college has canceled study abroad for the fall 2020 semester. We are hopeful that we'll be able to resume study abroad soon, but it's a decision has not yet been made about the spring 2021 semester or summer 2021. So we are working with our partner universities and keeping in mind the health and safety of all of our students so that we can make sure that you guys have a safe semester abroad. So we're having students still apply for next semester, but we don't know for sure that those programs are happening just yet. So hopefully if next spring doesn't happen, you guys can look at fall or the following spring as well. So why do an exchange program? Maybe you've looked at some of the multiple types of study abroad experiences that we have. I know that I'm a little biased because I advise for exchanges, but I really appreciate the fact that you can make a much longer connection when you do an exchange program, because they send their students to us too. It means that you could meet some of their students before you go. You can meet some of their students before they come to CFC. So you really have the ability to connect with the host university and the host country and culture for longer than just your semester abroad if you choose to do so. You're able to study alongside with other international students and oftentimes local students as well. It's definitely a very immersive experience because you are enrolled in their courses while you're abroad. It's great for students who want a more independent experience. So it's definitely more independent than a faculty-led program for sure, and probably more independent than an affiliate program. You're working directly with your host university, you're booking your own airfare, those sorts of things. It's an opportunity to study in another language if you want to, or in English. All of our partner universities offer courses in English, so it's up to you what language of instruction you choose. And many of our exchange partner universities are internationally recognized as some of the top universities in the world. So it's an opportunity to take classes at some of the top universities and to take different classes than you could take at the College of Charleston. So there is a map of all of the exchange partner schools that we have throughout the world. We are up to 32 partner universities in 21 different countries. We've just had a number that were added this spring as well. So we're excited to start sending students to those partners. Here is the list by country of all of them. So lots of different options. Obviously we have quite a few, as you saw from the map, in Europe, but we do have some locations that are in developing countries in Asia, so different parts of the world if you want to explore non-European countries as well. All right, so let me introduce our two alum who are here this afternoon now. Okay, Jessica's the one that was not here yet, so hopefully she'll be able to connect with us a little bit later, but Jessica spent spring 2019 at Queen's University in Belfast. Sophia is here, and Sophia studied the spring 2019 semester at University of Tartu in Estonia, and she's an international studies major and is a senior, and she's also a peer advisor in our office. So she will be around all fall and spring to ask questions too.
Anytime
so
you
Sophia, if you want to just further yourself. Yeah.
Wait, what did you say, Melissa? Sorry, it cut out for a second.
All right, if you want to just introduce yourself a bit more and just a brief overview of your time in at Tartu.
Yeah, so as Melissa said, I studied abroad for the spring semester at University of Tartu. I'm an international studies and political science major and a minor in economics. So while I was at Tartu, I pretty much took master's level classes in both political science and international studies. They counted for both majors when I came back and transferred back. And it was really interesting, just the way they do classes were very different from here. I didn't really have many assignments throughout the semester. I basically just had a final paper or project in every class. My classes were with students from all over the world. There were a few Estonian students, but because at the University of Tartu, they offer all classes that they offer in English also in Estonian, a lot of the local students just take it in Estonian because that's easier for them. But I did have a few Estonian students in my classes, and I had Estonian professors as well as professors from all over the world. And it was really an interesting experience. I loved living in Tartu. It was like a very small city, so I would be sitting in a cafe in the main square and see like at least 2 professors, like 5 of my friends just like walk past all the time. It was really easy to like meet people because you live in an international dorm, so they kind of like pair up your rooms based on where you're from. So like my roommates were all American except one was French, but then you're all on the same 2 floors, so it's really easy to like meet people. I actually talked to my Estonian friend or my friends from Tartu. They're not actually Estonian, they were all other international students every single day. I was talking to 10 of them yesterday for like an hour, so and that was like over a year and a half ago. So I really recommend the program. It's a great opportunity. Like Melissa said, it is very like independent. There's not really that much structure. When you get there, it's like 1 day of orientation, and then it's just like at CFC, you're just a student, you go about your normal life. There's not really like set activities, but they have the Erasmus Student Network, which is for like European students. And so they held trips. So like I went to Lapland, Finland for the week in the Arctic Circle. That's that picture that you see is the Northern Lights. And then I went to Russia for a weekend. We went around Estonia. Different things like that are like arranged, but that's for like all international students. So, yeah.
Great. All right. And last but not least, Laura, who studied at the University of Groningen, and she can say it much better than I can, Groningen, which is in the Netherlands, the northern part of the Netherlands. She is was a finance major, just recent graduated, and she was at Groningen the fall 2019 semester. Laura?
Hi, so yeah, I studied abroad in the fall of 2019, and because I was the senior, I basically had to take a lot of senior year courses. That was actually, I had to figure out what courses I needed and which courses I needed to take before I decided on going, so I was a little late on the process. And that made finding housing kind of difficult. But I ended up finding one place to accept me, which was a Dutch house with 12 roommates. And I was a little nervous about that because there was 2 bathrooms and 13 people and 2 kitchens. And I just kind of had to take the risk and go and see what it was like. And I wouldn't have wanted it to go any other way, because I now have 12 new friends. And I really like the exchange factor that you can live with people like internationals, but also people that live in the country, because I got to have like the full Dutch experience because all my roommates were Dutch. And like you said, the international club, we have ESN too. That was probably the best thing I could have done, is join that club, because they had a whole introduction week where your group has one person from every country. So you get to meet some new cultures, and they have like parties and like all this fun stuff. It's very adult. It's like not like you're like have to have a buddy or anything, even though you should. But so it's really fun. It was really nice, and that helped me find people to travel with, because the Dutch people that I lived with, they didn't really want to go to Amsterdam and do tourist things, so I got to travel with those people, and then I got to have fun living with my Dutch roommates. So, oh yeah, and it's called the University of Groningen.
Good job. All right, Angelina, Nicole, do you have any questions that are on the top of your mind to ask Laura or Sophia?
I mean, not really on the top of my mind. I always knew that I wanted to study abroad, and this sounds like such a great way to, like being independent and stuff, and like getting to live with another like culture sounds really cool too. I don't really know if I have any questions off the top of my head though.
This is actually kind of cool for me because the University of Groningen, I can't say again, but Groningen is one of the universities I'm looking at, but I'm also a INTL and poly major, so both of you kind of have the
Oh,
exact things I'm looking for.
perfect.
How was it to like be able to find the classes that you guys wanted to take? Like, was that difficult, or like I guess specifically like getting course credit that would transfer to CFC? How was that?
Well, I know that I personally worked with Stacy Hazard, who's also on this call, and she kind of told me, like, she went with through, because I was like, there's no way I can study abroad. I'm a senior. I don't, how are they going to have these classes? And she basically told me which institutions had the classes that I needed. And then I just had to get them approved through the college, it's a pretty easy process. So that was nice. Stacy's the bomb.
At the University of Tartu, so I'm the International Studies and Political Science, and like I knew that's what I wanted to take while I was there, because being a double major, like I wanted to take major classes, not just like gen eds. And they had a ton of options in English offered. They have a really big like political science school, and so basically I like got them all approved because there's a course approval process that you have to do through the CIE, and I got them approved before I went abroad, and they were all pretty much approved as poli-sci classes. But then when I came back, they all also counted as international studies electives, and they just kind of had to, like, my advisor went in and petitioned for them to count as both, and then they like waited and got approved, because the classes I took were like political developments of the Baltic Sea region. So that was a poli-sci. I can't remember whether they're all electives. They were all like 200 or 300 level classes for both. And so like that one was both international studies and political science. Then I took like populism and radical right-wing movements around the world. And again, that was both international studies, political science, and then I took power in international politics, and that counted as both. So they really have like interesting courses that are like kind of more narrow topics than I found at CFC, and they have a lot of different options. And they only like met once to twice a week. That's about it. So you really don't have that much scheduling conflict, I guess, with the times that the classes were, because they don't really offer a ton of classes at the exact same time, kind of how CFC does it. So that wasn't an issue. I like registered for the classes when I got there, and so I definitely moved my schedule around a bit, because when I got there, some of them filled up really quickly, or I realized like, oh, I actually want to have like these chunk of times during my day free so I can do other things, and like traveling was a big like priority, so I wanted to make sure I didn't have classes on Friday so I could do like long weekends, things like that. But it was really easy to like get the courses approved while I was there too, and like switch things around. And I mean, they're not like, they were master's level classes, so that's kind of like why they counted as such like 300 level high level classes here. But I honestly would say that it's not that much work, because you don't really have any busy work or assignments. You just like do readings throughout the semester, and then you have a final research paper in whatever specific topic you're interested within that overarching topic. So it's really wasn't that much more work than the CFC classes, or like I wasn't that much harder. And I found, at least for like my classes, since I was taking the English classes at the University of Tartu, a lot of people were in multiple of my classes. So like one of my really good friends, Georgia, we had 3 out of 4 of the same classes. And so it was really easy. I mean, they don't have like here where they have like tutoring and stuff, and professors can meet you outside, but it's not as common to do like go to office hours and things. But I had a lot of students that I got to know really well. We would study together in the library. We would like make Quizlets and share them. We would edit each other's papers, things like that. So that was pretty easy at the University of Tartu to like cultivate, because the class sizes are really like 20 people or less.
Okay.
So
classes at the University of Groningen, there's like a lecture for each class, and they are pretty large. I actually had one class that was in a movie theater because they ran out of lecture spaces, so that was really comfy, but it was easy to fall asleep. So yeah, but then you also have this thing called a tutorial. So it's like your lecture class is broken into like groups of 20, and then you like work with a TA on actual practice problems. So you only meet for your class twice a week. And one of my classes, I had 2 quizzes in, and every Dutch person I talked to was like, I can't believe you have quizzes. Like, that's crazy. But the rest of them, I just had one final exam that was 85% of my grade. So that's a little scary. But I passed 3 out of 4 of my classes. The semester is broken up into 2 semesters, though, in one. So that's kind of interesting because I took 3. The first, they were like A semesters, and then like 1 in the B semester. So you can kind of make it more relaxed and do 2 and 2, or whatever you think is better. Yeah, the classes were, not everyone, but most students in Groningen speak English, and they take classes in English if you're in the business world. I know that there's some like some art classes and stuff that are taught in Dutch. I would recommend taking a class like an elective if you have room for it, because if you take an elective, and it'll be probably in the academy building, which is that big beautiful building that I was standing in front of, and I just wanted to have one class in there. But the rest of my classes were on another campus. It's called Zernike, which is 15 minutes away, but it's really like modern and cool looking. So yeah, do you have any questions about classes in Groningen?
Laura, when did you get registered for your classes?
That's a good question. I did before I left.
Okay.
And I didn't buy my plane ticket until I got registered. So it was like a month before I left, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that it's maybe about half and half, the exchange partners that you register before you go, and others via where you register on site. So we can talk about how much flexibility you have in terms of what classes you can take, because if you have some flexibility, then going to a school that you register on site, that would be fine. But if you need very specific classes, you know if you got into those classes before you.
And when I registered, I only registered for the lectures. You actually like go to your lecture, and then they give you a time to register for your tutorials. So you can pick what time it works best for you for your tutorial. But the Dutch people are so quick. It's like you have to be there on the dot and refresh it and like click it to get in, not in 8 a.m. So somebody gave me that advice, and that helped me because I was there right on the dot and I got a good time every time. So that was good.
Yeah.
And yeah, I when I first got there, I was like, I'm gonna ride the bus. You know, I'm not gonna ride a bike. I'm just gonna ride the bus because I had it figured out. And that gave me a lot of confidence because I was like, I figured out how the buses work. Like, I'm amazing, you know? So I was like, I missed the bus one day, and I could only take the bus that accepted cash because I didn't have my Dutch bank account set up yet. And so it was 45 minutes until the next cash bus was coming, and I was going to be late to my class. And I went back to my house, and my roommate, Lotte, she was like, you can just use my bike. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get there, you know? And she was like, just follow the red line straight, you know? And I was like, okay. So I rode her bike, and her bike was so nice. And I got there like with like 30 minutes before my class even started. And I was like, I need to get a bike. So then I ended up getting this like rental bike service, and I loved my bike so much. I almost cried when I said goodbye to it because I took it everywhere, even going out. You know, you just ride your bike through the city center into class. It also kept me in shape because I was eating a lot of bread.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How'd y'all decide to do an exchange program over any other type of program, like over an affiliate or like just any other study abroad that was maybe not as like independent? Like, how'd y'all make the decision to do the exchange?
I can go first. So for me, it was mainly finances was one of the big things. I'm like go to CFC on like a full academic scholarship, and so I couldn't afford to lose that. And with affiliate programs, those do not apply. So affiliate was definitely out. And I am international studies, European concentration, so I needed to go to Europe to fulfill that. And just none of the CFC programs that were offered in Europe fit any of the classes that I needed. And again, like I mentioned, I'm a double major and a minor, so I kind of needed to get these specific classes checked off that goes towards my major. So then really all that was left was exchange, and I particularly chose University of Tartu, just because at the time Tallinn Tech wasn't an option, so Tartu was kind of the only place in Estonia, and I wanted to go somewhere a little less traditional, so I didn't really want to go to Western Europe. So that really, Estonia was a good option for that, or Greece. I was deciding between the two, but also there's the Hugi Scholarship Foundation, and so they have a scholarship specifically for Estonia students. And so I was able to apply and get that. And with like with addition to my academic scholarships, I actually got like a refund of $4,000 to study abroad. So I was able to use that for all of my plane tickets to travel every few weeks around and
That's so
cover the
nice.
cost of food and everything. So really financially was like a big push for me. And then also just that the University of Tartu offered so many political science classes and international studies classes, and all of them seemed very interesting and like something I would take at CFC if it was offered here. So it was just a really good fit.
Nice. Cool.
The reason I chose an exchange is because I actually wanted to go to Australia. Because I was just like, I want to go to Australia. Like, that sounds so fun. And I applied and I didn't get accepted. But then I was like, wait, I still really want to study abroad. So I talked to Melissa, and she told me that these were the colleges like that spoke English, like that had my courses that I could go to. And it came down to only two places, and it was the University of Groningen, or I think Lille, France was one of them. And I just had like the bug to go and do it. So I was like, I don't really care where I'm going. I'm just gonna do it. But then of course I did some research, and the fact that they spoke English so well, really, I was drawn to that. Because I took Latin in college, in high school. And then also finances, because what's nice is that you pay College of Charleston tuition, and I got to keep my life scholarship with that too. And I looked at like housing in Australia and stuff, and like how it's like the same as it is in Charleston, but in the Netherlands, housing is like cheaper than in Charleston. So I actually saved money, at least enough to like buy my plane ticket.
Yeah.
And I really broke even. And my mom was like, you're not going to break even. Like, you're going to want to go and buy stuff and like have fun on your study abroad. But I actually broke even at like exactly of how much I would have paid, because I subleased my apartment in Charleston. So yeah, it really worked out good.
Nice. Okay.
I know the I guess the upside of living in such an expensive city is that most students find when they go abroad that it's actually more affordable. I've heard that about the Netherlands, Estonia for sure, Germany. Students can't believe how much cheaper Germany is than and so.
Well, the house that I lived in, since it was so big with 12 people, it was like 325 euros a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say the University of Tartu I think was like $250. So I also got a stipend from every month from like a housing return, because since it's like an exchange, I was paying like the housing rate for CFC, but then since it was so much cheaper over there, they would just give me like double back that I could use any way I want, and spending money every month, which was nice.
Because I didn't sublease my apartment for the full amount, because an exchange student from Germany was going to come live in my apartment. And so I kind of cut her a deal, because she didn't want to pay so much, because I live in Sky Garden, or I used to, and it's just crazy expensive. So I gave her like a discount, and I still saved money by studying abroad. Who can say that? You save money studying abroad.
Laura, who did you sublease to?
Val.
Valerie, that's what I thought. I loved her. She was so sweet.
Yeah, I only got to hang out with her one day because I was gone, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was really sweet.
How about your airfare and travels? How were logistics? How was it to get to your actual host city?
I guess I'll start. We're going back and forth, but so my airfare was kind of expensive because I waited till the last minute to get my plane ticket. But I ended up flying with Delta and an international flight. It was nice. It was a nonstop flight, so that was really nice. But once I got there, I was in the Schiphol airport, which is like right outside of Amsterdam, and I had to take a train 2 hours to Groningen, and that was a little scary because I was kind of trying to figure out where to go, but they had this thing called Moving to Groningen where these students went to the airport and they like taught you how to get a train ticket, which was so nice because I was very confused, and I had like a 50-pound suitcase, a duffel bag, and a book bag full of stuff. I also was wearing like long sleeves and leggings because I thought it was going to be cold there, but in August it was like one of the hottest days they've ever had. So I was like sweating through the airport, and I got on the train for 2 hours, and I was so hungry and thirsty. Then I got to the train station in Groningen, and I had to figure out how the buses worked. That's when I first had to figure out how the buses worked. I could have walked, to be honest, but I didn't really know that. So I got on the bus, and then I rolled my suitcase down the street and showed up to my house, and I just knocked on the door. Thanks to Google Maps, by the way, on your phone. It's amazing. And I was just like, hi, I'm your roommate. And they were like, okay, now you have to carry this all up this ladder of stairs. And I was like, great. So the traveling was like, it's kind of a lot because you can't just like fly there. You have to like take the train there. But I got used to it, and having a bike was helpful. But also I would recommend packing less because carrying that suitcase around the airport was terrible. So yeah. And I didn't need as much clothes as I brought. I never wore any of them. I wore the same 3 sweaters every day. So.
Tartu was kind of similar. So it's not the major city. Tallinn is like the capital city in Estonia. So in order to get to Tartu, I'm originally from Atlanta. So I flew out of Atlanta to Stockholm, and then Stockholm, we boarded like a tiny plane to Estonia, to Tallinn. And then once you get to Tallinn, there's like a train that goes from the airport, or buses. And so I took the bus from Tallinn to Tartu, which is about 2 hours. I think it only costs like 5 to 10 euros. It's really not that expensive. But when I got to Tartu, I realized I didn't know what stop to get off at because there's multiple stops. And everything was in Estonian, like all the signs, and they announce it in Estonian, no English. So I got off at the wrong stop because I saw like a University of Tartu building, and I was like, oh, I must be close. Turns out I was only like a mile away, but it was February, so it was about 10 degrees outside, and a ton of snow and ice. And so I was standing there with like my giant checked bag. I had like a backpack that was like 40-50 pounds, and another suitcase just standing in the snow and ice at this bus stop. I didn't have another bus ticket to like get back on the bus. And so this lady was walking her dog, and she came up, and I was like, hi, English? And she was like, no. And I was like, and then she went and got another guy that was on the street that spoke a little bit of English. And I was like, I need taxi, because my phone wasn't working because I didn't have a phone plan. So he hands me his little flip phone, and I was like, I don't know numbers. So then he calls a taxi for me in Estonian, and they like come and pick me up. And then again, it was only a mile away, so it was literally super close. And then I laughed about it afterwards because like once I lived in the city, I was like, wow, I was so close. I was right around the corner. Like it was pretty much a straight walk and like 1 block away to get there. But just after like 24 hours of travel in the snow with like no English anywhere, it was definitely an adjustment. But then once you're in Tartu, the whole city is very small. You can literally walk everywhere. Like you can get from one side of the city to the other within like 25 minutes. There's a beautiful river that goes through it when it warms up, because it starts out very cold, but then by the end of the semester, I guess if you go in the fall, the beginning, it's warm enough to swim in the river and have like picnics on the little beach that they have there. And since it's so far north, it stays light all the time. So like come April, the sun doesn't really set. It just gets to like dusk around like 2-3 a.m. and then it's super sunny again by 6 a.m. So you can really like enjoy the outdoors and stuff and by the river. But getting around Tartu is really easy. You just walk everywhere. And then the bus station is literally like half a block from the dorm that you stay at, the international dorm. So it's like a 1-minute walk to get there, and then you can take the bus back into Tallinn, and then from Tallinn it's easy to get everywhere. I spent like $40 to fly to Berlin one weekend, $10 to fly to Oslo, Norway one time with my friends. You can take ferries from there to get to Stockholm, Finland, Russia. So it's really easy to travel around, just once you're used to it. The first day was a little rough, but
First,
then
it's
I was
hard because you have so much stuff, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
But I
I
remember
know we tend to hear students tend to say what Laura said, like, I wish I wouldn't have brought so much stuff. No one says I didn't bring enough.
Oh no, I brought too much. And then like when I left, I spent the last month, because I booked my plane ticket beforehand, because the semester technically ended in June, but all classes ended the first week of May, and then you just have like final papers due. So you don't actually have to be there. So the month of June, I spent backpacking with some friends that I had made in Estonia, in Croatia. And so I didn't want to like carry a bunch of stuff with me. So I actually got rid of an entire checked suitcase bag worth of stuff. I just took it to the donation bin outside the gym and donated like all of my winter clothes and all of my snow boots and everything. So I was like, I don't need that in Charleston, and I don't want to pay $100 to check it and bring it back. So.
Well, I'm very impressed that you were able to do all your classes and travel everywhere, because I was kind of like, this is my senior year. I need to pass these classes. So I was like, I can't really go anywhere. Like, I have to stay here and study. But I did end up going. I went to Amsterdam twice. I went once with an international student, and then once my friend from Charleston came to visit me for a week, and then we went to Amsterdam because, I mean, of course she has to go to Amsterdam. And then I went to Milan with my friend Hilka, so that was wonderful. And that was a big trip too, because we did it all in one weekend. So it's like we had to bike to the train station, train to the airport to Italy, then take a subway, then take a bus, then walk to the Airbnb. And by the time we were there, we were like exhausted. But we had really fun. We had a romantic date, so that was nice.
What about the food? What was the food like?
Well, Estonian food, not the best. Not gonna lie, it's kind of gross. They're like national food. I forget what it's called, but it's like really dark rye bread with a slab of butter and a salted dried fish. I don't really like seafood. All of it just not for me. Some people really like it, but thankfully in Tartu, there's really not that many Estonian traditional restaurants, because again, they recognize that the food is not the best, but they have a lot of good restaurants from like all over the world, like different Asian cuisines. They have really good Georgian food. So Georgian and Russian food I found is delicious. A new love for it might be my favorite type of food. And so they have 2 really good Georgian restaurants there. And then they have a lot of like the grocery stores. I found myself a lot of times they have like little food sections, like next to the dorm, there's a little kind of like convenience store type store that's called Cone Market. And they have like a little old Estonian lady in the back that makes fresh food every day. And she made lasagna, and you could get like a full dish of lasagna for like €1. And it was delicious. So a lot of times I found myself just like going to the grocery store and getting like some of the pre-made food for just like easy meals. And there's like 4 or 5 grocery stores you can walk to within Tartu. So there's a lot of options. They also had like markets a lot in the square, where you can get food there and like produce. And then they had, let's see, they had like other just like little quick restaurants. They had so many cafes. I spent most of my time in a cafe studying because the dorm didn't really, it was quite small and there wasn't really like a good efficient space to study, because like our common room didn't have any windows, and I just like a lot of natural light. So I would sit outside cafes when it was warm, or in the cafes for like hours. Yeah, there were good food options. Just I wouldn't necessarily recommend Estonian food, but they have access to good food there.
Sophia, there's a restaurant in West Ashley that makes food from Georgia.
Wait, really?
Yes, and it is good. You're
I've
right.
had Georgian food since I left Tartu, so I'm actually gonna take a note.
Euro Foods.
Okay.
It's so good. Their owners are from Eastern Europe. One of them is from Georgia, and I can't remember where the other one was. But if you need your Eastern European food fix,
Yes, it's so good. Like the dumplings and the katupor. Oh, yes.
Mhm. All right, Laura. I know the Dutch food isn't amazing, but
Well, I think it's also pretty eclectic. It's like they're like very American influence there. So a lot of the restaurants and stuff are restaurants like I see in America. They're just different names, you know, like but they do have Dutch food, and it's meat and potatoes, and I love potatoes, so I was cool with that. My roommates would have house dinner every Tuesday, and they would cook me like mashed potatoes and some kind of meat like every week, and I would just love it. But also French fries, love French fries. And
they love their French fries.
yeah, French fries and croquettes, which are like,
Yep.
they're like fried. Well, it's like what happens is they like have leftovers from like the potatoes and the meat, and then they just like put them in like a little, what's it called? It looks like a mozzarella stick.
Yeah, they like bread it and fry it. Laura, they told me the same thing when I was there. They're like, whatever leftovers we have, we just put it in a ball with some potatoes.
They have these cool like vending machines in the city center where you can just walk up and you can see these windows with like croquettes and like chicken sandwiches and stuff, and you just put in like €1 and then it opens and you can just take it. And so a lot of people after going out would be like, there would be like a line at the microwave windows. But yeah, the food was good, and I loved the market. The market was my favorite place ever. I couldn't believe it because I'd been buying my groceries at like the generic grocery store, and one of my roommates was like, do you want to come to the market with me? And I was like, okay. And then so I just started getting all this fruit and stuff, and I ended up paying like €5, and I had like 2 baskets of fruit and vegetables, and I was like, why haven't I been coming here? But they also have like herring at the market, so you can eat like a whole fish with onions on it. And I was a little scared to do that, but after some persuasion from my roommates, I tried the herring, and it's pretty good. It's not bad. They say a herring a day keeps the doctor away.
I liked it. It's pickled, right? Is that right?
I'm not sure. I think you can get it pickled or you can get it not pickled.
I think I had mine pickled. And what are the little, do you remember the name of the little, well, stroopwafel, but what are the little pancakes? Do you remember?
Oh, they're like puffin
Yeah.
something. I never had those actually. I went to a pancake place in Amsterdam, but I had American pancakes.
Did you go to the pancake place in Groningen that's on the ship?
No.
Huh.
You know, I didn't go out to eat a lot actually because I didn't have a lot of money.
Well, they told me that Dutch people don't really eat out. Like it's not a thing like the US, like going out to dinner with your friends isn't as much of a thing as it is here. So
I went on a date once though with Hilke. Like I went to a restaurant with him. But other than that, I never went and got food with people. It was weird. We always just cooked at home.
yeah.
But I really liked it because the food is like not packaged. So it's like every time you want to make food, it's like you got to shred the cheese, like cut all the vegetables, do all this stuff. And I like really liked it because I ate way healthier because I wouldn't just grab a snack. Like I had to like make my meals. And it was really fun. I really liked it. And I was surprised that the students cooked so well. Because I remember one time I was like just tired from class and I came home and cooked some chicken nuggets for dinner. And my roommates were like, "Are you eating chicken nuggets for dinner?" It was like all 12 of them came to me individually and they're like, "Are you okay? Like, you need us to cook you something?" Like, but yeah, it was fun.
Any other questions, you guys?
I don't think so. Not that I can think of.
Okay. Well,
Oh wait, actually I do have one, but it's for you. Are you the one that we can go to talk about like what we like a plan, what we want to do?
a plan. Yes, I love plans. All right. Yes. So speaking of plans, here's a list of plans. If you don't already have a profile set up in our application system, you want to do that. So that's called Via TRM. So that is where you can find more about the programs and submit your applications. So you definitely want to talk to your academic advisor and set up a time to meet with me as well. And we can talk about your options. Again, like Sophia and Laura said, our office doesn't do the course approval. So you definitely have to work with the academic departments on the academic piece to make sure that you'll earn the transfer credit that you need. But we can talk about big picture, what the universities are like, what your experience may be, how to decide between them. In VIA, you can apply for one program and then list your alternates as well. So if you're having a hard time deciding between programs, you can sort of apply to what you think is your top choice and then list your other choices as backup options as well. The deadlines vary. Right now, Groningen's deadline would be earlier in September, and Tartu and a lot of the other ones are later in September. But those are all on the website as well. If you guys don't have your passport, that would be something to do soon. You can work on the application through travel.state.gov, but you can actually physically apply for your passport now at mail services on campus, which is really helpful. So again, Via TRM is where you'll apply, but you can also search a little bit more for programs. So just know that the search feature is a little slow. It's a little pokey. So give it some time to load. So you can search by exchange and you should see all the exchange programs pop up. Most of the exchange partner universities are only offered as exchanges, but there are some that you can either do an exchange or an affiliate at that school. So like their University of Sussex, Queen's, Belfast, there's a handful that you can study either as an exchange or an affiliate student. And you log into VIA with your CUC credentials. And then after, let's see, this talks a little bit about it. So those are those deadlines that I mentioned, some of them. So this is only for spring semester. If you're thinking about next fall, you would need to apply in probably March. The deadlines will be for fall 2021. So you end up applying twice, once with our office to make sure that you're a good candidate to be an exchange student, and then we would nominate you and any other students to your host university, and then you end up applying with them as well. So you'll do 2 applications before you go. You'll apply with your host university so that you can get an ID, courses, housing, all that stuff. As Sophia mentioned, the housing in Tartu is included and through the university. As Laura mentioned, Laura did a very independent housing search, but Groningen doesn't own any of their own housing. So it sort of works like Sky Garden or 400 Meeting, those sorts of things for student housing. So they'll help you with that process as well. And then you'll do some additional paperwork with our office. So like Laura and Sophia mentioned, the course approval process. So that's one of your enrollment forms that you'll do for our office. Sophia had to apply for a visa. Laura did not. So Sophia, did you have to go to New York? I can't remember.
Yes, I did. I had to go to New York. It was a little bit of a mess because I went to my appointment and then I was missing that you needed a lot of bank statements from your parents if they were gonna be there, and so I had only brought one copy, and she needed more information, specific numbers, but I was only in New York for the day, because I was staying with my friend in Rhode Island. And so I had just taken the train in for the day. And so I was on the phone with my mom and had to go to FedEx down the street and get it printed out. But I was able to get the visa, which was good. It was definitely a little stressful. So I would double check calling them because I had everything listed on the website. But they wanted extra stuff that was not listed on the website. So I would just say call and just double, triple check.
Yeah. So a visa is a sticker in your passport. Like it takes up a whole passport page that you get beforehand, but not all of the countries do that. So some do a residence permit like Groningen. Laura, how was the residence permit process?
It was pretty good, except when I went on the plane to leave, they said that I didn't have a residence permit, so I couldn't board the plane. And I was like, well, I have this document stating that I am supposed to pick up my residence permit and I've already been approved for it. But the document was in Dutch. And they were like, well, we can't read Dutch. So they called a Dutch airline person to come and read it. And she was like, okay, yeah, she can go. But they were like, next time you need to print this in English. But I'm like, this is like the official document they sent me. I don't know. And I don't know if there's a way around that. So that's something to like maybe try and look into. But then when I got there, actually some students were able to pick up their residence permit at the school because the IND came there. But it was like a lottery. Like it was like only a certain amount of people could do it. So I ended up having to travel to Zwolle, which is like an hour away on train. So I just traveled an hour on the train and picked it up and then traveled back, and that was it.
Yeah. So Groningen, Netherlands does residence permit, so does Germany. So that means there's a little bit more paperwork that you have to do when you get there. Most of the other countries do visas ahead of time. Some you don't have to travel to the embassy or consulate, but some you do. So like Sophia had to go to New York. If you were looking at a program in France, you'd have to travel probably to Atlanta. So it sort of depends on the country you choose. Applying for housing, finding housing, all that, and then booking your airfare. So those are all the things that you'll work on after you've been accepted. And then we'll have our pre-departure orientation this semester before you go. So you'll meet the other students who are going abroad to either your host university or just in general. So if there are more than one CFC student going to a host university, I offer to connect you guys. So sometimes we do have students who fly together or at least chat about like, okay, who's heard back about classes or housing or stuff like that. So I would say sometimes we send as many as like 5 or 6 to some of the more popular exchanges in a semester, and other times you might be the only one, or there might just be 1 or 2 students that are going. There's all of our contact information. I'll send you guys an email. Do you want to just put your email addresses in the chat real fast, just so I can make sure I have